What do you do when you're asked to compromise as a professional truck driver? Hello, I'm Vicki Simons with TruckDriversMoneySavingTips.com. Okay, tonight, as you know, on Special Sunday, we've been talking all about relationships, all right? Hopefully, most of those relationships that we've been talking about are the kind that nurture you and build you up and are good or a good working relationship, but there may be some times when you're asked to compromise, and that's a big red flag, okay? If there's something that you've been asked to do that's not safe or legal or could come out to bite you in the end, and or could ruin your trucking career, or fill in the blank, whatever it is, something that's bad. All right, and I'm going to give you some examples tonight, potential situations or actual experiences that Mike and I have been through, and it's one of those times when you will probably be able to identify with some of these, or you may have something that's slightly or a great deal different from ours, but in which you've been asked to compromise too. So the first example would be one of the trucking companies which Mike used to work for. He was a regional truck driver for a large southeastern trucking company, and one of their largest accounts, was hauling a certain kind of product that was harvested every year. And the way that it worked was typically the driver would show up and the shipper would put on a lot of product. Okay, sometimes so much that it was impossible to scale out the truck. Okay, basically it was an overweight load. And the trucking company, and I must say this was before CSA ever kicked in, the trucking company said, for these types of loads, we will cover your fines if you are found to be overweight. And it was one of those things where the drivers kind of had to bite the bullet, if you will, and be willing to do that. Now, what would happen now that CSA is kicked in, I'm not exactly sure, but Mike doesn't drive for them anymore, so it's one of those situations where they may not have the same kind of deal, or maybe they do. But you need to bear in mind, drivers, that if you have too many overweight fines, it may harm not only your own personal CSA record, but it also could come back to bite the company as far as their CSA record is concerned. Okay? There are times when drivers are asked to take trailers or tractors that they know are not safe and legal to drive. Okay, had a situation, it's referred to on our website, where a driver's the rear axle on the trailer, the brake pads had worn down to such a point where the mechanic said there's only like 2 weeks worth of brake left on these pads. And one of two things was going to happen. Either the brake pads were going to have to be replaced on that axle, or there was going to have to be a replacement trailer brought in. Well, it was a situation where the company wanted to trade that trailer for another one, but even though there was a great deal of documentation, there was a paper trail in place, so to speak, electronic paper trail, because this was email and also conversations that were written down. The company basically wasted that 2 weeks, and when the time came for the driver to get his replacement trailer, that replacement trailer was actually given to one of his co-drivers. So it was a situation where on that Friday, that do or die Friday, the trailer had not been dealt with. So Monday was going to be rolling around, and one of two things was going to happen. Either the driver was going to take a trailer out on the road that was no longer safe and legal to pull, or the driver was going to have to put an out-of-service tag on it and say, I'm not hauling this. Okay? Well, as it turned out, the way that the driver described it, okay, on Saturday night, Sunday morning, he woke up from a nightmare, okay, in which it was the case where in his dream, he was dreaming of driving a truck. And in this dream, because he could not stop his rig because the brakes on the rear axle had not been dealt with, okay, he was unable to stop his rig in time, and he was coming up to an intersection, but there was another vehicle in front of him, but because he could not stop his rig in time, he actually ended up rear-ending the vehicle in front of him and shoving that vehicle out into the intersection where there was oncoming traffic. Okay? Obviously, because the driver woke up right then in a cold sweat because he had caused an accident, potentially a fatality, but he woke up before the actual accident happened. It was fixing to happen. He didn't know what was going to happen in his dream, but he all of a sudden realized that if he didn't take action to out of service that truck, that trailer, he could potentially be involved in a very serious accident that the trucking company would not back him on. Okay, if he was involved in a life-threatening or a fatality type situation, okay, it was going to be his driver's license, it was going to be his conscience, it was going to be his trucking career that was on the line. So what he did was he let people know by email that he was being forced to put the trailer out of service. He was being forced to. All of this stuff had been clearly documented up until that point, but he was not going to allow himself to be in a compromised situation. And that's what I'm telling you, drivers. Okay, if you are asked to compromise in a situation where there is a safe and legal way to do it, and you are told to do it some other way, to hint, hint, wink, wink, look the other way, or do something that's a little bit off, don't do it. Do not be forced to compromise. Do not allow yourself to be put into that situation. Okay? I talked some time back on one of my broadcasts about a financial penalty, okay, that is put upon you if you accept some of these loads. Okay? Read your dispatch. Okay? If there is something in your dispatch that talks about how you will be forced to pay a financial penalty if you are late, okay, is that a safe and legal situation? No, but just realize, drivers, that you could be putting yourself into a place of compromise if you're involved in something that's not your fault. Okay, if someone pulls out in front of you, okay, or if there is an accident that takes hours to clean up and otherwise you would have been on time, okay, those are things that are beyond your control. All right, so you could be forced to pay for something out of your pocket. And let me mention this other thing too. All right. On our website, we talked about a situation where a trucking company, one of the drivers was talking about how he let the director of safety know that the brake inspection time was coming up. Okay, we talked about the CVSA, brake inspection time in the past, and it was a situation where it would have taken that company only $40 per truck to come in and check out the brakes, make sure that they were in compliance, that they were legal, okay, that they were properly adjusted, okay. The company did not take that route. What happened was this particular driver was on a load that was going to the coast and just happened to be coming back by way of a route where they had set up a set of portables or some sort of a temporary way station. The driver was flagged in, the brakes were found to be out of compliance, and by the time it was all said and done, okay, that company ended up paying $700 for something that would have taken them only $40 on the front end to fix to begin with. All right. Now, that was only part of the story, all right? Besides the driver being put, having all the inconvenience of having to wait for the mechanic to show up and all that mess, all right? There was something else, and you can look at this is a page on our website called Condition of Employment. I'm going to read to you, and I think I've got it on the page. When that happened, the company came out with a new policy that they put in their handbook, amendment, and I'm reading this because this is what the driver gave me. Okay, amendment to Employee Handbook, DOT Violation Policy, and this was dated October 2013. DOT Violation Policy, effective immediately. Any driver who is cited for a preventable DOT inspection violation while driving for, and the company's name, will face the following disciplinary actions. Number 1, or first offense, 2-day suspension without pay. Second offense, termination of employment. In addition, it will be the driver's responsibility for any monetary fines or penalties, that is tickets, issued for the violation. I hereby acknowledge receipt of the trucking company name, DOT violation policy dated October 2013, and I agreed to have read it completely. In other words, this driver was forced, as were all of his co-workers, to sign this in order to continue working for this company. They were putting his rear end on the line, even though this driver was driving company equipment. Okay? He was asked to compromise, and what ended up happening was basically that there was a company-wide revolt on behalf of all of the company drivers. And they said, okay, if you're going to land this in our laps, here's what we're going to do. We're going to out of service these trucks until you get all of these issues that we've been complaining about. Okay, you're going to get these things straightened up. And it ended up costing the company thousands of dollars that they probably weren't planning on spending, that they should have been spending to keep their company equipment in compliance and safe and legal to begin with. Just letting you know, drivers, if you're asked to compromise, don't do it. When Mike and I were driving for Swift Transportation, it was our first trucking company. You got to understand, we came in green as grass, newbies, didn't know what we were doing, okay, and thought that basically we had to take any kind of crap that the company laid on us, all right, which is not true. You don't. All right. At that time, and Swift may have changed their policy since then, so I'm just letting you know, they may not do this anymore, but at the time that Mike and I were driving for them, they had a situation where they were hauling loads from the Midwest to the south of Florida, okay, going down along, say, I-20 until you get down to Florida, and then you had usually down to I-95, all right? And I think it was I-20, I-10, and down through there, that sort of thing, okay? And it was one of those things where those kinds of loads were being loaded on double trailers. Well, as you may or may not know, okay, there are the kinds of trailers that are 13.6 that are compliant on the East Coast, and then there are the high cube doubles that are allowed, say, from about the Midwest to the West Coast. And the thing is that the high cube doubles aren't legal on the East Coast. And we were told, okay, there are 3 overpasses that you're going to have to do an up and over. Okay, in other words, what you're going to have to do is from the interstate, you're going to have to take the exit ramp, go up over the road, and go back down the entrance ramp on the other side in order to miss that, what would be a normal clearance, but for a high cube double would be an accident. Okay, 3 of these things. And Mike and I were teaming at the time, husband and wife professional truck driving team, and we accepted that load the first time. Okay, if memory serves me correctly, I was the one who did the up and over the 3 times. I think it was in Alabama or somewhere through there that I was driving. But anyway, Mike got stopped at a Florida inspection station. Okay, one of these truck weigh stations. And out comes and I'm in the sleeper berth, so he's having to tell me this afterwards, and he may put some more, comments here below if I don't get this exactly right. But anyway, the law enforcement person there at the DOT station, okay, pulls up his yardstick and he's measuring the height of the trailer, and he asks him, said, "Do you have a permit for that overheight trailer?" And of course, Mike did not have a permit for it, so he was out of service for a period of time there. And I'm not exactly sure, but I know that we went ahead and we made that delivery sometime later. But it was a case where the high cube double should have never been in Florida to begin with. It never should have left the Midwest. Well, sometime later, okay, because we were a team, and of course teams, one drives, the other sleeps, or at least that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, the situation boiled down to Mike, and I told him, I said, I'm never going to take another high cube double down to Florida again. I just let him know that. Well, he went ahead and he accepted another load that had a high cube double on it. And when I woke up and I found out what had happened, and I said, we're either going to not take that load or you're going to drive it every inch of the way. And we had this disagreement, but the next place that we stopped, the next truck stop I got the dispatcher on the phone, and I said, I'm not taking this load. It is illegal to take the load. Okay? You know that it's illegal to take a high cube double down to Florida. And he tried to hem and haw and do all this crap and put it back on. Well, you've already accepted the load, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And I said, no. I said, it is illegal to take it. All right, now, drivers, you got to understand. Did this go over well? No. We were punished for that, okay? As a direct result of my refusal to take a high cube double down to Florida a second time, okay? We were put on what could have been, it was very strenuous work on the East Coast for 5 weeks. Okay, we were a transcontinental type team running coast to coast, but we were put on this little pissant stuff over on the East Coast, and it wore us out. 5 weeks of this stuff, and I'm about ready to, I'm worn out. My strength, my limitation was about ready to snap, okay? But we took it, all right? About that time, and I don't remember the time frame, I didn't write it down, but Mike was asked to haul with the tractor just the converter gear or the dolly that goes between the two trailers behind the tractor. And Mike wasn't sure how to make it legal, so he calls the company to get advice. And nobody knew, the driver manager didn't know, and the supervisor didn't know, and eventually the phone call went to the safety director. And so I'm there listening to this conversation, and I'm encouraging Mike to ask him, to let him know about the situation with the high cube trailers going to Florida. It's a different situation, but because we have a converter gear, it's sort of related, okay? So Mike said, sir, by the way, do you know that high cube doubles are going down to Florida every day? And the guy who was the safety director, may still be the safety director, but at least at that time, he said, well, I'm aware that they're going down there occasionally. Okay, well, even for him to admit that was a major revelation, because it's kind of like, you're not supposed to allow those things. You're the safety director. You're supposed to be stopping this kind of thing. But after he said that, Mike said, no, sir, they're going down every day. Well, I don't remember the time frame again, but later on we realized that the terminal manager and the dispatcher at the terminal where we had been dispatched out of to take the high cube doubles down to Florida weren't at that terminal anymore. They had been shipped to Phoenix, Arizona. And Mike and I suspect that what happened was that they wanted to keep a closer eye on them there. Okay? I felt vindicated. All right? Hopefully, never again was any team ever going to be forced to take high cube doubles down to Florida. Okay, it should have never happened in the first place, and it could have been other couples were, or to other teams were saying, no, we're not going to do this either. But all I know is that we stood up and said we weren't going to do it anymore. Okay, it starts with someone saying, no, this is not legal and safe to do. So don't compromise, drivers. If you're asked to do something that's not right, don't do it. Okay, if you're asked to compromise your hours of service, now, with the electronic logging devices that are in trucks now, you really can't get around that. But if you're still on paper logs somewhere and somebody says, well, just, use a second logbook or something to get around it, don't do that, okay? You could be really risking your life by overextending yourself. You have a situation where some people look at hours of service as a cap, and it is a cap, but it's also there for your protection, okay? The hours of service were put in place so that trucking companies could not take advantage of truckers in order to make them work, excessively long hours. So think of it as a means of protection for you, even though you may think of it adversely. All right, I'm going to look back through our the comments. My husband's probably been putting these in, and I really appreciate, yes, your license, your conscience, okay, your paycheck, your CSA score, what you could do. Your driver manager's not going to take the heat for you if you're involved in a fatal accident, by the way. All right, condition of employment. Yes, don't compromise. All right, let me share one more thing, and we've got this stuff all over the place on our website. Where I know that the website needs to be revised into a more mobile friendly, and I'm working on that, okay? And there are a lot of pages out there that are not linked back to the Tier 2 pages. I'm also going to be working on that, so it's just going to take a little time. We've got over 1,400 pages on the site. All right, I've got one more phrase to talk about, and I'm gonna end it with this, and that's just this once. We want you to do this just this once. Okay? What does that mean? Okay? We want you to compromise just this once. Okay? If you compromise just this once, that means that you've allowed yourself to be put in that situation. And if something doesn't bad happen to you, if something bad doesn't happen to you, they know that you are willing to do it one time. Would you be willing to do it a second time, or a third time, or a fourth, and on and on and on it goes? Do not allow yourself to be compromised like that. Do not put yourself into a situation where you could compromise. All right? I'm looking at my husband's, yeah. All right. Be aware that if there is anything on your truck that will give law enforcement a reason to name you as any part of a contributor to an accident, okay, then it's not totally a four-wheeler's fault, for example, okay? You need to make sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, okay? Make sure that you do your pre-trip inspections. Don't compromise. Don't compromise. Don't compromise. People who ask you to compromise are not your friend, okay? And let me also say this. If you have a situation with a safe and legal thing and you refuse to drive and your trucking company retaliates against you, be aware that the federal law is there to protect you, okay? Under the Surface Transportation Assistance Act, and look that up on our website if you need to, STAA, there is such a thing as the whistleblower's law, and if you are fired for doing something to make sure that you're safe and legal, but the trucking company sees otherwise, if they fire you for that, okay, they're the ones who are in hot water. You stand your ground. If you need to out of service the truck, the law says that the driver must be satisfied that the equipment is safe and legal to haul, okay? I forget the exact terminology, but it's on our website. Go and look at whistleblowing truckers, okay? It's up there, all right? Safe and legal is what you want to follow and obey. Thanks, honey. I appreciate that. Okay, drivers, part of tonight has been a rant because of all the stuff that Mike and I have been through or that we've heard of. Do not allow yourself to be compromised, okay? If you find that you've been compromised and you're asked to compromise again, stop it, okay? All I can say is stop it. And if you're working for a company that keeps asking the drivers, look, some of these trucking companies, to be honest with you, they need to be shut down because they're trying to earn money in a dishonest and disrespectful manner. They're trying to get the drivers to take the dirty stuff, okay, while they're going to come out squeaky clean. I'll go, well, we didn't know about it or whatever. Okay. Don't put yourself in that situation, okay? Remember that, okay, you will be vindicated in the end, somehow, somewhere, but put your foot down. Do not allow yourself to be compromised, all right? I appreciate my husband putting these notes and comments in. Drivers, if you have any questions or concerns about this, please put them in the comments or get in touch with us through truckdriversmoneySavingTips.com. If you've gotten value from what I've shared, please give likes, shares, and hearts. We'd really appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube, hey, look. Let us know how you know, what's happening with you. If you've got an experience to share, good or bad, let us know about it. Share your experience. And if you need to, if you've got a little tip or whatever, something that's a little different or a little, you know, even if you disagree with us, send that in. Okay, your experience could be completely different from ours, and you may have something that could shine some light on it. We do not have the world's only experience. We're just sharing what's happened to us and things that we know about, but we realize there's an entire world full of truckers out there that have different experiences than we do. So on our Truckers Savings app, which is available through the Google Play Store, and if you have an iTunes account or an iDevice that you can help me with making the Trucker Savings app for the iTunes store, please get with me because I'd like to be able to get your help with that. But on the Google Play Store, if you download the Trucker Savings app, Okay, hit the share tip and just put in your name and email address and what your tip is and let her rip. Okay, I'd appreciate that. Okay, we'd love to be able to share that with other people. Our whole website is geared to helping truckers save money. We want to be a clearinghouse for how all truckers around the world are saving money so that we can help each other. Okay, we want to help build the trucking industry and make it better and better. Okay, let's get away with, put the finger, in the face of somebody who's not doing right, okay, who needs to be shown up, who needs to be called on the carpet or whatever, okay? Don't be a timid driver. Don't take stuff just because they tell you you have to. You don't, okay? You're a professional truck driver. You've got standing. Do something about it, all right? Check out, yes, our YouTube channel, all right? We appreciate you, drivers. If you have any questions, let us know. Until the next time, my husband Mike and I wish you safe travels and lots of money-saving opportunities on the road. Have a great night. Thanks.